Along with extra time and lower instances of unpredictable weather, there are a variety of benefits that come with fall ESN application. Learn more at smartnitrogen.com.
Good day, and welcome to Wheat Pete's Word here on Real Agriculture for Wednesday, October the 23rd. On this episode of The Word, a pet peeve of Wheat Pete's, then wow weather, big corn, be safe, an opportunity, and after all of that, all the agronomy answers that I can get to. Let's go! Yes, so we're going to start with a pet peeve. I've been at several meetings just recently, and people will say, well, I don't disagree. And it's, wait. What do you mean you don't disagree? Does that mean you agree? Does that mean that you don't really agree, but you don't want to say that you disagree? Like, what the heck is that? Either you disagree or you agree. Don't use the double negative. I don't disagree. It just makes me shake my head. So there's a pet peeve of Wheat Pete. Let's go on. Wow weather. Unbelievable. It's still like we are getting, I don't know, at least May or September weather in October. It's been incredible. So good that Mike tweeted out, and thanks, Mike, for copying in Wheat Pete. June 17th planted soybeans at Glencoe. No way I ever would have expected to be able to plant wheat after June 17th beans. October the 23rd, the wheat is going in, and the conditions are absolutely excellent. And yes, we've had such a great fall for wheat planting. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but lots of wheat going in Warren, saying 40% increase in wheat acres in Eastern Ontario, according to seed sales. Man, I just can't tell you how excited Wheat Pete is to find out where we end up with acres once we get that report from Agricor after November the 7th, I believe, is the planting deadline. From an Agricor standpoint, I am looking forward to that number. And big corn, oh my gosh, some unbelievable yields. Albert Tenuta saying that in some of their tar spot trials where they had tolerant varieties that they sprayed at least once, maybe twice, I didn't get all the details, but some plots yielding 325 bushels per acre. Some growers sending me pictures from North Wellington, 280 bushels per acre. My great friend Ken from Ilderton saying, Peter, it's like 1991. Very stout yields. That's a Ken word or Ken term for sure. Stout yields. And we might be done, barring the wheels falling off, we might be done by Halloween. How unusual is that? Ken did mention that 91 was followed by 1992. We definitely hope that we don't average we don't average 2024 out in 2025 the way we did 91, 92, because 92, for those of you who weren't born yet or those old people who don't quite remember, that was the year of no summer. Mount Pinatubo had exploded, put all sorts of ash in the air. It just never warmed up. And 92 was not a great year, that's for sure. That's not going to happen. It's just things have changed, and we're just going to continue on with great corn yields and all that type of thing. On tar spot. So I did mention last week that, we were kind of in that 20 to 30 bushel range in terms of the yield gain, 20 to 35 bushel yield gain from fungicides on tar spot. Evan, listening to that immediately, and Evan, good for you, I love it, immediately sent me his plot results. A 3-rep test, 68 bushel per acre yield gain to spraying a fungicide and controlling tar spot. And I will say, all these big yields I'm talking about, I always have to back up and say, oh my gosh, not everybody gets the big yields. Wheat Pete is very disappointed with his corn yields. They're just mediocre. We sprayed for tar spot. I'm in a heavy tar spot district. My corn got a lot of rainfall this year. It's my wheat sat with ponds in it several times. My corn is right beside my wheat. I didn't see any killed out spots in the corn, but I have some really low yielding spots. I truly believe two things going on: excess moisture and tar spot and additive stresses. It is as if corn can't handle the additive stress, or when you get stressed corn, it becomes more susceptible to the tar spot. We did spray my corn. It did not hold, the fungicide did not hold the way that we had hoped it would. So yeah, not everybody's corn is amazing. But Evan, you sent me plot results, and that's the upside of this story, is everybody send me the plot results. Send me your pictures of your yield monitors. Let me know what's going on. It's just, that is what makes wheat Pete tick. Hey, just before I leave corn, the Dawn survey results, so the toxin survey results, the gibberella survey, call it what you will, from the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food. It's different now. The Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, I believe, is the right moniker there. OMAFA is now out. 94% of the corn samples in 2024 are under 2 parts per million. Dawn is just not a big problem in this corn crop. I don't think that surprises anybody, but you know, the weather we had at pollination time, you might have expected more gib in the crop. We just aren't seeing it, and that is a great news story. As well, lots of dry corn out there. In fact, I combined corn yesterday at 16.1% moisture. I should have waited till it got to 15.5, but if you're wheat Pete, you do it when you have time to do it, just the way it is. But not everyone. I'm really interested. Some corn moistures are holding up really quite high. So Josh in Perth County, Kevin in Essex County, all I can say is I think it's got to be genetics. I know that Lawrence tweeted out where the corn moistures were holding up a bit better, that you'd held the tar spot back better, and that meant that you were getting higher yields. And I think, Lawrence, I totally agree with that. My 16% moisture corn was in stressed areas where the tar spot really nailed it hard. So that is true. But if it's holding up at 30% moisture, given your planting dates, given your hybrid selection, I just have to think it's genetics. I have no other good reason for that. And last, before we move, leave the wow crops. Double crop soybeans, growers are at them now. The early planted double crop soybeans in the 40 bushel per acre range, that is pretty outstanding. And if you go to Eastern Ontario, I mean, that is just the mecca of Ontario this year. They just are hitting home run after home run after home run, and good for you guys. So Paul Hermans, a great agronomist with Pioneer Corteva Agrisciences, the plot results for Eastern Ontario on soybeans. In 2023, the plot average was 61.5 bushels per acre. That was an awesome soybean year. The plot average this year to date at 67.3 bushels per acre. That's 6 bushels per acre more than last year, a 10% yield increase. Man, those are some big soybean yields. All right, I need to move on. And please, please, please be safe. I know everybody's working long hours. In fact, Eric saying that it's like I-state weather. It's been combined soybeans till 1 in the morning, 1 a.m. It's almost like we're in Western Canada. 33% relative humidity yesterday in the London region. That's crazy on the 22nd of October. But even working long hours, we cannot walk away from being safe, particularly on the road. So Kevin saying, man, Pete, maybe, just maybe, some of these safety reminders that you send out to people are having a little bit of impact, because driving down the road, I have been impressed with how many people on the road in the tractor are using earbuds or headsets. They're not holding the cell phone up to their ear, which, by the way, you're a vehicle on the road. It is illegal to have that cell phone up to your ear. And how can you drive that massive equipment down the road with one hand on the wheel and the other hand, up to your ear, and you're not really thinking about what you're doing. You're thinking about that phone call. So gosh, be safe, but kudos to the people using headsets. Jamie saying, Peter, please remind farmers that when they turn their turn signal on in many of the older tractors, if you have your left turn signal on, it doesn't turn off when you turn the corner. And he's followed tractors down the road for long distances where that either right or left turn signal was left on. Please try to remember that. And last but not least, on Saturday morning, it was incredibly foggy. Chad sent me an email with a picture with a tractor going down the road, on the road as they should be, pulling a header wagon in the fog. The header wagon had lights, but the lights were not on. Either the tractor didn't have a connector, or I don't know why, but come on, people. That is 100% not non-starter. You cannot do that. In the fog, no lights. I don't care you have an SMV sign. It's against the law. It's dangerous. You could kill somebody. Please, 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 road safety, be safe. Think twice, act once. Okay, enough on that. I got to get moving on. Quickly, an opportunity. The Ontario Soil Network is looking for participants for 2025. It's just a great opportunity. People like Woody Van Arkel, that I quote all the time on the Word, were one of the founding members of the Ontario Soil Network. If you're interested at all, they put together a group of classmates for 2025, and you basically look at things through a soil perspective more so than a crop yield perspective. What is happening in the soil? How can we improve that soil? Very cool opportunity. If you're interested, just Google Ontario Soil Network. It will get you there. All right, I need to move on with agronomy. And first up, wow, Martin from Quebec tweeting out a picture of aphids in his winter wheat at levels that I have hardly ever seen aphids at that level. If you're in Quebec and you have big winter wheat, for goodness sakes, check for aphids. If you're in Ontario, I think we need to check as well. Need to get out and scout my winter barley fields. We had a good discussion at the Yen group about aphids. When you talk to Phil Needham out of Kentucky, it is quite common in Kentucky to have to spray for aphids in the fall to prevent the spread of barley yellow dwarf virus. In Ontario, we almost never do that because we get cold nights. Man, this is getting to be more like Kentucky weather, so pay attention. Get out there, scout, and if we have to, we'll need to control those. On that hand, this warm weather has caused incredibly big wheat and some of the later planted wheat. Warren again sending out a picture of later planted wheat in eastern Ontario that is now emerged and doing really well. And Adam saying, hey, Peter, like my October 6th wheat, man, it is emerging so slow. Well, that's the value of early planting. So what's really interesting is the number of farmers who planted wheat on September 29th, September 30th, October the 1st. You can see the difference in development on that wheat for every day that it is planted. Don't forget, it takes 150 growing degree days to get wheat to emerge from a 1.5-inch planting depth. Today's weather, the 23rd of October, 19 high, 7 low. You add those two numbers together, 19 plus 7 is 26. You divide by 2, that's 13 growing degree days. If you had 11 days or 12 days of this weather, your wheat would emerge. Tomorrow's weather, 13 high, 3 low. You add 13 and 3 is 16. That's Divide by 2, that is 8 growing degree days. It takes 50% longer when we get these cool temperatures. October 6 wheat is slower to emerge because we've had lots of cold weather last week. It will get there, but that's just what drives that. And that is the impact. And you never see it, or you rarely see it quite this visually, but it's been really interesting with that September 29th, 30th, October 1st wheat, how you can see the impact of every day. And those were warm temperatures. Those were kind of, I think, 25 and 12 or something like that. So we were getting almost 20 growing degree days per day in that time of the year. And that's what is driving that. On that big wheat front, Steve saying, Peter, my early planted wheat has all gone purple. What is going on? So Steve and I had a great text discussion. The reality is only his early planted wheat has gone purple. Same seed, same soil test, same fertility program. His later planted wheat looks fine. And Steve is saying, what's going on? Well, what is going on is that Steve's area is incredibly dry, and the big wheat has really got a lot of photosynthate. It's really driven a lot of photosynthate. With the dry conditions, the roots just can't grow easily. They're struggling to grow through that soil. It's no-till situation. It's big soybean yields this year. He said incredibly high soybean yields. Yeah, soybeans never leave the soil in good structure. They just don't have a good root system. It's not like our cover crop oats, which there's been some Twitter discussion about how mellow the soil is with our cover crop oats. It's because they've got this gorgeous fibrous root system. Soybeans, I often joke, have no roots. So we've got poor soil structure. It's dry. The wheat is struggling to grow roots. It's got lots of photosynthate. It can't use all that photosynthate. Right now, all of that photosynthate, or the vast majority of it, is going down to the roots to grow roots. It got nowhere to go. It can't use it. It stays in the leaves, and it changes to anthocyanin, because too much photosynthate in the leaf is actually toxic to the plant, and the plant avoids that by changing that to anthocyanin. Why is the small wheat not affected? Because it has not yet photosynthesized enough to get excess photosynthate in the top part of the plant. It's supposed to rain today. If it rains today, Steve, that'll solve your problem. If it doesn't rain today, it's going to stay purple. It'll eventually come out of it as the roots get through, but there is nothing you can do from that perspective. Steve asks, what can I do? Can I spray something on? No, nothing you can do. Just drive on. It will fix itself. It's going to take a little while. Hey, before I leave wheat, there is some people who are going out and they're looking at their wheat like Steve's wheat, and it's just not growing very fast, or they think it's just slow, and they're saying, man, nitrogen, it needs nitrogen. And there's actually growers who have spread nitrogen on their wheat this fall. Stop! It's all bad. Any nitrogen you put on in the fall, I mean, it's tremendously interesting. Even in the UK, where they have mild winters, it hardly ever snows, they expect wheat to grow till at least the 1st of December, maybe even the 1st of January. Then it goes dormant for January and most of February, and by 15th or 20th of February, it's breaking dormancy, it's growing again. Recent work out of the UK shows zero benefit. Let me repeat this. Zero benefit to any fall applied nitrogen, to the point where environmentally UK growers are no longer allowed to apply even MAP 1152.0 monoammonium phosphate. We apply it here for the phosphorus, not for the nitrogen. They're not allowed to apply that because it has negative environmental consequences. You spread nitrogen on your wheat crop this year because it's dry, you think it's growing slowly, you think the bean residue is maybe tying up some of the nitrogen. All you're doing is throwing 50% of your nitrogen dollars away, and it's an absolute environmental no-go. Just do not do that. I hope I've said that strongly enough. Okay, I got to move on quickly. So Jim, with a great discussion with Jim about his oats, they got to head. He chopped them. excellent idea. It will speed breakdown. It's a warm fall. We've had this discussion, or this was part of the discussion on Twitter. It's a warm fall. You chop them, you're going to get more rapid breakdown of that. Then Jim also burnt them off, and now he's going to go in and either strip till them or do some tillage. Woody's saying, a light pass with a vertical tillage unit. We do want to do as much as we can when we get those oats in head to try to speed that residue breakdown and not have too much of a mat there next spring. I'm not keen on leaving that without a little bit of just surface tillage, either strip till or the light vertical tillage pass. Dungannon Dan jumping in saying that, hey, Pete, we've had twin rowed our cover crop for a number of years now. We don't do any tillage, but now we strip till in between the twin row cover crop. Dan sent a picture. He's got sunflowers in flower. It looks gorgeous for all the people that drive past. He burns that off. He strips till in between. Nature Nut Nick is using that as a biostrip process and having some luck there. So lots of ways that we can work around some of these bigger cover crops. If we use a little bit of innovation, I think that's all good. Andy saying, hey Pete, what about rye after corn? It's early, my corn's off, I could VT in or disc in some rye seed, and I hear there's a synergy between rye and soybeans. Is the same thing true about rye and dry beans, edible beans, white beans or black beans or something like that? Okay, stop right there, Andy. There is no synergy between rye, cereal rye as a cover crop, and soybeans. The reality is with any of these cover crops, we're trying to maintain better soil health. We're trying to maintain higher organic matter, more return to the soil. But at the end of the day, in the short term, the mantra is do no harm. That's all we're trying to do is long term, we think there's something there. I talked about my roots not iron plot and how 8 years later, we can see something. We could not see something in the short term. Short term, do no harm. And so from that perspective, no synergy. The best you can hope for in the short term is some weed control out of that cereal rye, particularly on glyphosate-resistant fleabane, but other weeds as well. No synergy there. Does that mean it's a bad idea? No, it just means make sure that you manage it just like everything else. Hey, Tom, crazy clover growth. Tom got an awesome stand of red clover. They're harvesting it for hay, and it's just like, wow, that is incredible. Meanwhile, Matthew sending me a picture of the crimson clover that they planted after their wheat, and it has pretty good growth on a year like this as well. But Matt, as good as the crimson clover was, if you can compare it to Tom's double cut red clover, there simply isn't a comparison. The root system on the double cut red is so much better than the root system on the crimson, and we know what we get with double cut red clover. If only we could get the consistent stand. It is the Cadillac of cover crops. And with that, I am yet again way over time. That's it. That's all on behalf of the team here at Real Agriculture. This is Wheat Pete with the word for Wednesday, October the 23rd. Hey, keep the plot results coming. Keep the yields coming. I love it. And I will talk to you again for way too long next Wednesday. See you then.